So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Seaside Chats with the Salve Admit Guy. I'm the Salve Admit Guy, Jim Fowler, Vice President for Enrollment Management at amazing Salve Regina University on the cliff walk overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, coming to you from my virtual back deck of Ochre Court, our iconic building on campus. If you have been following this series of chats, they are designed to help families learn a little bit more about the university, particularly in this new virtual world that we're stuck in, and to learn a little bit about academic programs, life on campus, other aspects of the Salve Regina University experience. And if you want to follow me, you can do so on Twitter at Salve Admit Guy, and occasionally on Instagram as well. But this evening, we will be shifting gears and talking about our business programs. And for that, I'm going to welcome in Dr. Melissa Varao. Dr. Varao, welcome to Seaside Chats. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. I'm happy that it's fall, that fall is upon us. I'm not thrilled about daylight savings time, but I am always happy for fall weather. It's a really wonderful time of the year that I feel like gets underappreciated sometimes.
It is 100% upon us too. There's no denying it's fall now.
So, Dr. Varao, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, maybe your area of academic focus, and about your role at Salve?
Sure. So I am the director and the chair for the Department of Business and Economics. My background is varied. I come from the Midwest originally, the middle of a whole bunch of cornfields, really, to be exact. I did my undergraduate degree at Indiana State University, where I studied travel and tourism and sport management. And then I worked in the hotel industry for several years before I went back and get my master's degree at the University of South Carolina, where I studied hotel, restaurant, and tourism management. And then I went into the events industry for several years, primarily social event planning, primarily weddings. And then after that, I went back and I got my PhD at Auburn University in hotel and restaurant management with an emphasis in tourism and events. And then I started my academic career after that. So I moved up to New England after that, which kind of suckered me in. I don't know how I ended up here, because I said I would never come to New England. It's cold and I don't want to be cold. But I got up here somehow and immediately fell in love with it. So I've been here ever since. That was like, I don't know, almost 15 years ago now. So I've been in higher ed and business programs ever since then. In particular, my area, as I said before, is hospitality, events, tourism, entrepreneurship, a few other areas. And I have been in the business world ever since, because I built these programs primarily to be a part of the business world, which is really important to me, that students studying those areas are getting a full background in business. So I came to Salve a bit of a year ago to be the administrator for the business programs. I've been working steadily here on taking a hard look at our business core curriculum. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit. I think one of the most valuable pieces of our program here, and working with students and faculty to make all of the programs that we have the best that they can be. So that's what I've been doing in the last year or so. I've also pivoting to move many of our classes online when we need to, and all that good stuff that's come with the last year.
Well, you hit on a theme that seems to be fairly consistent as I have these programs and conversations with members of our faculty, and that is that many of our faculty at Salve have really strong academic credentials, and they have the intellectual backing that faculty are typically have, but they also have most cases, some professional experience that they can partner with that academic experience and bring that practical knowledge into the classroom, which I think is so valuable, particularly in today's world where families are concerned about making sure that students are graduating college with a skill set that's going to be adaptable to a very competitive economy.
So I'll tell you that actually one of the top, if not the top thing, one of the top things that attracted me to Salve in the first place. So I'm a very hands-on person. I think that this particular generation that's coming through is a generation that also gravitates towards hands-on education, in particular because they've probably been just about tested to death, I think, in their academic life prior to college. And I see, at least in my experience with students, that they were really wanting a chance to, dive in and actually do the work that they're studying instead of just, being prepared to take an exam on whatever it is that they happen to be studying at the moment. So I say this because when I came to Salve, one of the things that attracted me was not only the propensity to have sort of these real life project examples, et cetera, as part of their class, not just part of their class, but in many cases, their entire class. So not to get too far off track, Jim, but to give you a little bit of an idea, these are the things that get me really excited. So for example, I'll give you an example. One of our econ classes right now, econometrics. We've been running that class pretty consistently now for the last couple of years. It started out as just an elective class that came from a good idea, and from it has been just born these miraculous opportunities for students. I'm trying to think of what the first project they did, but the whole class is built on the premise of doing an economic impact study. So, for example, one year they did a study on the impact of the cliff walk on the city of Newport and what kind of tourism that brings in or doesn't bring in, and tourism in general in Newport and what that does for the city, how many jobs it provides, how much income it provides, how many dollars go to the restaurant industry, et cetera. And that was a really exciting study. It was really helpful data for the city. And it wasn't this like kids project. It was a real deal. It was what somebody would hire a consultant for and pay a lot of money for a consultant to do for them. And so that project started gaining a lot of notoriety when when industry professionals started seeing what our students were able to do with it. And so since then, we've been essentially hired by many organizations to run these studies, and they're entirely student driven. So a couple of years ago, we did a study for the Naval Warfare Base about their impact, their economic impact on the city of Newport, and I believe on the greater state of Rhode Island. And that is the reason for that study was because every few years, naval bases and military bases in general make decisions on what bases they're going to keep open and what bases they're not, and they need to know what impact these bases are having. So our students did an incredible job with that. We had senators and governors and all types of politicians and great legal minds in the room for those presentations. And then this year, somebody from that same project reached out to us and said, hey, you did such a great job with that. Would you guys mind doing an economic impact study on these 8 naval bases in the country? So all of the naval bases, they're actually now doing economic impact study, and they're working directly with the admiral who's in charge of the project. And essentially they're acting as consultants. So there's a 2-for-1 there, that we are in direct contact with our community, with the business world at all times, working to do real projects that benefit them. But on this side of things, our students are doing exactly what they would be paid to do when they graduate. They're getting that exact experience. So that's just one example, but it's the kind of thing that really drew me to Salve in the first place, because we do really see the value in a less than traditional style of teaching. It's very infrequent that you'll see a faculty member who will just stand in front of the class and lecture with great frequency, or just give, multiple choice exams. Pretty much the vast majority of what we do is hands-on. And the same thing goes with our faculty. So you mentioned, faculty credentials, and most of the faculty in the department have doctoral degrees and PhDs. But there is not a single faculty member in the department that does not have significant industry experience. And that's the other thing that really draws me to, there is not a student who will be wandering the halls and not able to find somebody to sit down with at any moment in time and talk about career perspectives and what types of jobs there are in a particular industry and those types of things. So it's one of our shining stars about our program. Our faculty are really just come from these incredible backgrounds in the industry, and I think it's just a beautiful thing to watch that married with the student interest.
You covered a heck of a lot there. No, it's great. It's wonderful. It really excites me every time I talk about our business program. The reason why it's one of our biggest programs and one of our most popular. I think about the educational structure of, so even just in the classrooms, we have these beautiful new renovated classrooms in our O'Hare Academic Center, and the business classrooms are all designed specifically for group work. They're not that, rows and chairs with the faculty member in front. Really, it's more like theater in the round with, these working groups around the perimeter of the classroom, and the faculty can move around to each group, which is fascinating. When I think about these economic impact studies and the importance in all industries today of big data, data analytics, econometrics. Really, that's as the economy has shifted to a much more on-demand world, that is the basis of everything. I can remember talking to a close friend of mine a couple years ago. He was working for a company that dealt with logistics, and he said how hard it was for him to find graduates of undergraduate programs that had the background in logistical thinking,
Absolutely.
the practical experience to be able to come in and really hit the ground running. But that's something that our curriculum is flexible enough and focused enough on sort of today's economy to be able to accomplish. Can you talk a little bit more about how the curriculum is structured to do that, and also a little bit about what the different track offerings are? Because I know we do have a number of different ways that students can specialize within the general curriculum.
Yeah. So our business program, another one of the strong points of the program is our business core curriculum. And so that curriculum is designed in particular to both introduce students to all the different aspects of the business world, and there are so many, but also to allow them to have a breadth of knowledge when they graduate. So they're not just, a marketing major is not going to just come in and focus entirely on marketing the entire time, because if they did, they wouldn't be a very successful, marketing personnel when they graduate, because they need to understand the basics of entrepreneurship and finance and human resources and all these other concepts that go with it. So every student who is a part of any of our business programs, and there are many, so you asked me to mention those, and I'll do my best to not leave any out. But we've got marketing, financial management, accounting, healthcare administration. What am I forgetting here? Business administration. I know I'm going to think of one in just a second. Economics, global business and economics. What do you say, Jim?
Sports management.
Sports management is a minor. Yep. So we've got a lot of programs, and the reason that we're able to sort of house all those in one is because of the business core. So that gives all of our students a chance, and many of our students come in not knowing where they want to go in the business world. They just know they want to be a part of it. So a lot of them will come in as business administration. Some will still come in as undeclared, but knowing they want to go in that area. Some will come in as accounting, or whatever the case is. And then the opportunities that they get to be in all these different courses and to really understand the fundamentals of economics and the fundamentals of accounting and the fundamentals of marketing before they move further really gives them a chance to explore those things. So they're getting a really nice base to build upon so that once they get to these upper level classes and they're doing these projects within industry, for example, they have the necessary background to be successful at them. But B, they're really getting a chance to explore what their interests are. And we have a ton of students who are, maybe they might come in and say, I know I want to be a marketing major. And then a year later, they go, you know what? I actually found that I'm pretty talented at accounting. And who knew? That sounded so boring to me or whatever, and that happens a lot. And we encourage that because the last thing that we want is for a student to go through all of the, the process of getting their 4-year degree and then come out and then realize that they weren't not in the right area. And maybe even have to go back and get more education to supplement what they really do want to do. So this allows for that. And it also allows students to discover that maybe things aren't what they always seem on the surface. So just to give you an example, our introductory financial management class uses a simulation because students tend to be, and I will say this from my own experience prior to, getting as far as I did in the business world, finance can be intimidating. It can be scary. And I think it's almost like wine to me. Everybody thinks they don't know what they're talking about when they're talking about it, but many people actually know a lot more than they think they do. And it's true. And so people go into it with like, I can't do that. That's too scary. So one of the things I love about the introductory finance class is the whole class is built on a simulation. So you are given a fictitious amount of money. And essentially, instead of somebody talking to you, standing up lecture style, talking to you about the proper way to invest, you just do it. And you learn from your mistakes. And yes, of course, there's somebody there to guide you through that. But at the end of the semester, you've either lost a lot of money or you've gained a lot of money. And you've learned from it, though. And I see so many students who come out of that class going, hey, like I get it now. I get what I was doing and it's not so scary and I can invest my own money. Now I feel comfortable with it. And I've seen a lot of students come in, being terrified of finance and walking out saying, I'm going to become a finance major now that I get it. And my favorite about that is, I see a lot of students who are down on themselves in particular because they may come from a background where investing is just not a part of what they grew up around. Their parents didn't do it, or if they did, they didn't talk about it. I myself in that way, it's still not a very prominent part of my parents' life. And so because I was unfamiliar with it, it was really intimidating to me. And I just felt like it was something I would never be able to do. And then when I finally did learn the principles of it, I thought, I guess this is something that anybody can do. So I see a lot of students who come in with that mindset and they come out with a greater level of confidence. And then if they decide to take a second level of finance, which most students do, they graduate from that simulation where it's like competitive with their classmates. Every week they sit down and see how everybody is doing. What did you invest in? What did you invest in? Why did you choose to invest in that? Why did yours go up and mine went down, kind of thing. And it's very competitive, but it's only on a simulation level, and that makes it fun, But once they get into the second class, what's even more fun to them by then is there is real money on the line. So we have a fund that allows students to actually invest and trade and make significant financial decisions with those funds together as a group. And they do that throughout the semester. And that fund has grown something like 650% since it started just a couple of years ago from our students' investment decisions. So, and then we try to incorporate the Mercy mission wherever we can. So just to give you an idea, last week, or maybe it was the week before, the finance class said, we've been sitting on this money for a couple of years since it was first implemented into the class, and the classes have kept trading and kept going with it and kept growing the fund and growing the fund. And we think that right now is the best time to do something good with this money instead of just sitting on it. So the class made a decision of how much they wanted to take out of that fund and what they wanted to do with it. And they chose to take 50% of the profit for right now profit, so that next semester we'll have another 50% to do with what they want to. and they brought in guest speakers from the Boston Children's Hospital, from all these different places, to talk to them about their needs at the time. And then as a class, they made decisions on where they wanted their money to be dispersed, given the times of inequitable disparities and COVID-19 and all the issues that are happening in the world. The students really had a lot to think about where they wanted their funding to go, what they wanted to do with it in these crazy times. And they made some really beautiful decisions. So it was nice to see both of those aspects in what would normally be a class that's all about numbers. You see, the real human side of those numbers come out too. So I don't even have any idea what question you asked me, Jim.
No, I think you definitely covered it. What's amazing to me about that is, even though it's not a defined piece of the curriculum of that class, they're also touching on capital management. They're touching on board management. They're touching on areas that typically would be reserved for graduate level studies, which is really quite amazing. Keeping on this theme of the combination of the theoretical with the practical, I know one of the real strengths of the business program is the Center for Business Outreach, and the work that it does to connect students with local area companies to understand how those companies work and to bring that knowledge back in the classroom. Can you talk a little bit about the CBO and how it helps students through the curriculum?
Absolutely. So the CBO, as we call it, is what I would consider the heart of our program. It's probably one of the things that sets us apart from other business programs more than anything else. We have a director for the center, and her entire position revolves around making connections with not just the local, local businesses, which are vast, but also throughout the state, throughout New England, and throughout the country, and even in some cases throughout the world. So she spends all of her time, networking on behalf of our students. To make sure that she's bringing in people, maybe for guest speaking engagements, for example, that are really fitting and aligned with the needs of a particular class or a particular group of students, or a particular need that's happening at this moment in time, for example. So that's just through guest speakers. It's through things, even oftentimes she'll set up one-on-one interviews, if you will, between students and people in the community or other business professionals. It's a little, I have to say that one of the benefits of this strange time that we're living in right now is that people are becoming much more accustomed to things like this and to Zoom meetings and things like that, which has made it nice for the center because we have incredible technology there. And we have great connections all over the world. So now that this is becoming a more, central piece of reality, we are getting a lot more really influential business professionals from around the world who we're able to bring into our boardroom, who we're able to bring into classes and things like that through the CBO. Our students it's one of the places where our students often land really good internships or jobs after graduation, and also really are able to connect with some key skills. So for example, we also have I'm trying to think of what his title is. Really blowing it right now. Sorry, I'm losing it, but we have an industry professional in the finance world who is unbelievably successful. I mean, he has done remarkable things in the finance world since he left Salve years ago. And he is our executive in residence. I lost the term for a minute, but he's our executive in residence, and he works with this Center for Business Outreach. So he has office hours a few times a week. And his office hours, he works in Manhattan and Connecticut and a few other places. But when COVID allows, he's on campus. Otherwise, he's on Zoom. But just comes here just to meet with our students and give them direction and help them figure out what path they want to follow and how they can be as successful as he is, maybe not even in the finance world, but really giving them some good pointers that worked for him when he was first starting out in the business world. That's part of the services that our center offers. We put together workshops, panel discussions for students all the time. We had a panel discussion a few weeks ago for marketing majors, and it was alumni and industry professionals from across the gamut in that industry, really telling students what they do and what their life is like and how they can get opportunities like they did. And then we had some accounting students who said, I really don't know what all these different sectors in the accounting world mean. I know that I can study these different areas, but I don't know what they really do. And that marketing thing sounded really great. So then the center put together a similar program for them that was a panel, and it was people from all the different sectors in the industry who could just let the students fire away questions at them. What does your life look like? What what part of your job is the most difficult, and what part of your job is the most rewarding, and those types of things. And so the center really focuses on bringing that kind of programming down to a central level, at the level of a major, even a minor, or sometimes just a group of students who are particularly interested in things, and getting them the resources that they need to explore those areas.
Yeah. I think the non-curricular experiential learning offerings are also really quite fascinating for students interested in business. We have a lot for students to get involved in, whether they're interested in finance, or they're interested in marketing, or they're interested in entrepreneurship. Can you talk a little bit about some of the clubs and organizations, and maybe in particular talk about some of the stuff the finance club is doing, because they're really doing some amazing things.
We have so many remarkable groups. I'm telling you, they amaze me every week. They amaze me with more and more things that they do. So you may know at Salve, you can, Jim, you probably know this better than I do, how many clubs and student organizations there are. I don't know.
There are about 150. So
150. And students can create one, and I've seen students do it based on interest. They could be like, I really like, basket weaving, so I'm going to start a club, and they do. And so it's not always on this professional or academic side, but we do see obviously a lot of the professional and the academic side. I had a group of students last year who said, hey, I really like what the Center for Business Outreach does. I want to do something that's student-led and student-run, and they created a networking club, and it was just for networking with professionals. And it was started by business students, but it wasn't business secular. So students from all across campus became a part of it, and the students then were able to have a voice about who they wanted to meet and who they wanted to talk with. And, and they got assistance from the center as far as finding the people that they wanted to bring in or go meet and things like that. But they were quite remarkable. And in the business department, you mentioned the finance club, the options trading club. These ladies and gentlemen are just incredible. I'm telling you what they've done. They are, one of those groups of students that I was talking about. I was, when I talk about the students who come in and they're very intimidated by things like trading, and then they start to learn about it and they become passionate about it. And so last year, at the last minute, we found out about a major competition that we'd never been involved in. It was prior to us actually having an options trading club that's nationwide, and it was happening in Chicago. And it was an investment portfolio competition. And so these young men and women stayed up late in Professor Sacco's office many nights in a row right before they left for this competition in Chicago. He went with them and, just worked tirelessly on making sure they had the best portfolio. There were something like, I want to say 400 other universities involved in this. And I'm not talking about I'm talking about I think Harvard was there, Berkeley was there, some majorly competitive institutions. were there, including all three of my alma maters. It was actually hosted by my alma mater. And I told them, all I care about is that you come back beating my three alma maters. They came in second place. Second place. It was remarkable. So they did beat all of my alma maters. And and this was an off the cuff thing. They didn't have the funds in the club to be able to send all of them to Chicago to compete in that. They had some funds, but not enough for that. And we as a department looked at this opportunity and said, these kids are passionate and they're good and we've got to send them. So we did some interdepartmental fundraising. We worked with our alumni department as well. And in a matter of weeks, we had the funds put together so that they could go do this. And boy, did they show us how grateful they were with their with the outcomes. So there's a lot of this. We have a group also called Enactus, which is a really cool organization. So Enactus is a student-driven organization that focuses on essentially entrepreneurial qualities as they relate to the needs of the world. And so they have national competitions as well. Last year, and the 2 years in a row, they've come back placing in the top 5 in the national competitions of those. Last year, our student president was a sophomore. And she won the student president of the year for the entire Enactus national organization. And she was only a sophomore. So we get 2 more years of her here in that position. Our marketing club is super active. They were supposed to take part in a competition last year. They did, but it was supposed to be in New Orleans in March. Obviously, that didn't happen. But it did happen virtually, and they came home with all kinds of accolades as well. I think they came home at number 3 in the overall project competition. And this past week, last week, they had a marketing week. They planned something like 18 different events throughout the week for marketing students, all accessible virtually as well. And I think this is just at Salve, we had like 400 students, maybe 350 students participate in it, which is that's more than marketing students we have. They really drummed up some great attention and created some great events and worked on their marketing skills and really showed, the world what they can do. And I'm sure just that in itself is going to put them in the high ranking for when they compete again this year. So we've got a lot of these organizations. We have an accounting and finance club as well. And I'm never not surprised by the incredible things these groups do. And the inclusiveness in which they do it. I mean, they're constantly out there, trying to bring others into their groups and show them, what's fun about what they're studying instead of just thinking of it as like, oh, I have to go to such and such class. They get excited about these types of competitions and things like that. And it really, leaves them some really high marks on their resumes and in their portfolios when they leave here as well, and with some great connections.
Well, I think that really illustrates the Salve educational philosophy to really focus on mentorship and empowerment of students, recognizing that a lot of students will come in the door. Some will feel very confident about where they're going, really focused, really driven. Others will come in and be a little more apprehensive about the academic experience and not know exactly where they're going or how to get there. But we have a faculty that is invested in making sure that they challenge our students, but also support them so that they understand what they are capable of achieving. And we see it with our graduates. They go out and they do these absolutely amazing things in part, and 201, they all come back and say, the Salve faculty, they pushed me. They helped me understand what I could do. They gave me the tools necessary to be successful. And then they launched me out into this great big world. And I was able to go out and do something that maybe I wouldn't have even considered when I was 18. And to me, it's when an educational institution can do that, that is truly the definition of success in higher education. Absolutely. I know one of the questions that almost universally, no matter where I've worked, the big question always comes up about the business program is what are the internship opportunities? So I have to ask, how are internships handled within the business program? What opportunities are available for students, and how many internships could a student do on the undergraduate level?
Yeah. Okay. So all of our students are required to do a minimum of one internship. And like many other things, a lot of them go into it not sure if they want to even do the one. And then they come out, we have students who do 3, 4, sometimes even 5 internships. I don't even know how they squeeze it all in. Because they realize the benefit of, of what they've just done and the experience that they've gotten, and really most often the opportunities that are going to come from that. So we have a director of internships in the department. She teaches internship classes, and she also works with students who are looking for internship opportunities, for example. So the internship class happens side by side with the student completing the internship at the same time. Typically meets once a week, and we run it over the summers too, so students can have some more free time for their internship. A lot of students choose to do it over the summer. And also because they can do it from anywhere. So the class is remote. So, students sometimes do it while they're studying abroad. Sometimes they do it, in California or wherever they are. But the internship program that meets weekly is essentially giving students, helping them to get a richer experience. So it's bringing them to have maybe some tough conversations that they wouldn't have had otherwise if it weren't assigned to them, with their managers and their coworkers and things like that, doing some projects in addition to the work that they're completing as part of the internship. So when they leave there, they've really been able to dig deep into that experience and really get, a host of benefits from it. As far as getting the internship, so students work oftentimes, there's a number of ways that we do it. So the students can work with the Career Development Center, and that's there, for helping them sharpen up their resumes and do, mock interviews and finding them sources for actually finding the internship. So across campus, we have this great program called Handshake. And all of our partners who are have anything to do with Salve, especially the ones that work with the Center for Business Outreach, are a part of Handshake, and they can post their jobs as they come up and their internships as they come up. And it's just a giant database that students can just search through and look for internships that fit what they are, hoping to achieve. So that's one way. Our internship director who teaches the class also works with students. And the other way, and sometimes students just come and they already say, I know where I want to intern. I already have the connection or whatever the case is. And that's great when that happens too. But most often the students come in going, I'm not sure what I want to do. I think I want it to be in this area, but I don't know. And the greatest asset here is the faculty. So all of our faculty teach and they advise. We do not have any, graduate teaching assistants that are teaching our classes or that are sort of supplementing what a faculty member would normally do. So the faculty members are in their office meeting with advisees with tremendous frequency, and that is one of their primary goals. So yeah, they help them plan their schedule for the following semester, make sure they're meeting their requirements and things like that. But their primary function is to meet with the students and help them work through where their career path could be leading, what types of internships they should be considering, introducing them to people in the industry, using their own industry connections. And that's why I was saying it's so important that our faculty all come from industry. So, when a student sits in my office and says, this is the thing I'm interested in, I can say, that's great. I actually have worked with somebody who does just that thing. And I'm going to pick up the phone right now and call them and see if they have room for an intern this semester. Or I'll give them a prep on have you thought about this area? Because this is very similar to this. I haven't heard you mention it. Have you considered doing something along these lines? And that's where I think most of our internship opportunities come from, is those really deep conversations that the students have with the faculty. And those conversations, I think, are why you hear those comments, Jim, from alumni who say talk about their amazing connections with their faculty. I've seen it firsthand at these alumni events. I've seen the students just like get giddy with excitement for, the idea of being able to reconnect with their faculty members. In many cases, they've never unconnected. They've stayed in contact with them since they left. And I think a lot of that is because they spent many hours sitting in their office saying, okay, but I didn't like this class, so does that mean I'm not going to like this? And I had this, exciting thing at my internship. Should I be changing my focus? And I think that those conversations really build those, those first industry connections for the students as they're getting ready to, move out into the world.
So I want to take a second here to remind those that are logging in and listening to us live that if you do have any questions, feel free to pose them in the chat box or the Q&A box. We want to be able to answer any questions that you have before we run out of time in our allotted session this evening. One of the things that is special about our program is the opportunity for students to accelerate and earn an MBA alongside their bachelor's degree within 5 years. I often joke, when you come to school in Newport, why wouldn't you stay as long as you possibly can? And so it's not surprising that a number of students pursue this option in order to get that MBA on top of the bachelor's degree in 5 years. Can you talk a little bit more about what it takes to do that and what the benefits are of that accelerated MBA?
So all of our business students have the opportunity to get a master's degree in their 5th year. So we have several options. We have several master's level options at the university in general, but in the business world, we have a master's degree in healthcare administration. We have a master's degree in innovation and strategic management, and we have a master's MBA. MBA is the most popular. It's got the brand recognition. Everybody know. You don't have to explain to somebody what an MBA is, right? They know what it is, and it does help students tremendously, or just professionals in general tremendously in their career path. So our program allows any student in the business program to become a part of what we call our 5-year program. And so what that does is, as long as students are keeping up their grades at an undergraduate level, then in their 4th year, their senior year, they are able to take 2 classes in their spring semester at the graduate level that will replace 2 of their undergraduate classes. So they're 2 classes closer to that MBA at that point, and 2 classes closer to graduating with their bachelor's degree with that 120 credits they need to graduate with their bachelor's degree. And then in their fall, did I say spring semester? I meant to say fall semester, I'm sorry. In the spring semester, they will then have the opportunity to take 2 more graduate classes. And this can be planned for relatively easily, so that by the time that they're in the 2nd semester of their senior year, by the time they're done with that semester, they should have completed all their undergraduate requirements and still have room for 2 courses to be taken at a graduate level. So by the time they are done with their 4th year, they've got their bachelor's degree and they're 4 classes closer to completing that MBA. So all they have to do is complete the rest of the requirements, or the other master's degree as well, the rest of the requirements in that 5th year, which is done. This is not something where it's like, okay, you can do it, but you have to take 4 classes a semester, et cetera. It's really done in a reasonable way, that once they've gotten those 4 classes under their belt, they're well on their way to completing that MBA or that master's degree. And the other great thing about that is in their 5th year, all of the graduate courses can be taken online if they want to. So in their asynchronous classes. So unlike a class where we might be lecturing face-to-face like this at a particular time every Tuesday and Thursday, for example, there's a lot more flexibility in the graduate classes because these students are able to hold themselves more accountable, which allows them, if they want to get a jump start on their career. So what happens is many students in the 5th year program will finish with their bachelor's degrees, be up on these 4 credits, and start their full-time job. And then on nights or on weekends or however they structure it, they're able to take a course or 2 at a time and get closer. And then by the end of that 1st year of, real career work, they have also completed their master's degree, and they've been able to do it, while balancing their job and taking these courses, for example. So it's really, it's quite a remarkable opportunity. It's a big cost savings. It's just a big savings in general, as far as the effort that it takes to go, get into another program and start taking it from scratch after your bachelor's degree, or going into your career and then coming back to achieve those things. A lot of those problems, we planned for addressing those problems in advance when we created the fifth year program. So it really allows students to do all of those things sort of at once.
Yeah, it really is great. And I've worked with a number of students that have stayed in Newport to do it and have taken jobs either at the university or taken jobs in town. And it's really, even in the case of some athletes, it's an opportunity for them. If they redshirt freshman year, they can stay on for a fifth year as well and hold on to that athletic eligibility. So there's a lot of great benefits to us offering that. It offers many different pathways for a variety of different students that meet a variety of different needs, which is great. As we close.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say, so we have a good mix of students who fall into those categories. We definitely have some athletes who go, this is like a chance I can still play. And at the same time, I'm going to come out of this with my master's degree. We definitely have a lot of students who will stay in the Newport area and either work, for a marketing agency or whatever, or, stay working on campus, something along those lines. But we also have students who take jobs and, in Boston or New York or San Francisco or whatever, and start, their track in their career, and then, take those courses, like I said, in a time that's more convenient for them to do so. So the good news is we have alumni all over the country because of the flexibility of the program. But it explains why it's so widely popular. I mean, it really just it's a program to say no to, really.
So as we close out the evening, I just want to ask, is there anything else that maybe we didn't cover that you want to touch on about the business program, or any anecdotes you can share about some of our recent graduates that might be particularly interesting for students to hear about at this point in time in the process?
Oh, sure. There's so many. I just gotta pull the right, pull them all out of my head. I just got an email from one of our faculty members bragging on one of our alum just a couple of days ago, who just took a really great job with the FBI in the Financial Securities Division. And the student just graduated a couple of years ago. So they were working with, I think, the FDIC, and then just got offered an opportunity. They've been doing this sort of apprenticeship with the FBI, and then just got offered a job. I'm sorry, that's a little lackluster on the details. I'm just trying to recall some of my most recent emails. But that happens, a lot, and it's across sectors. And I have to be honest, the business world doesn't always fit into a neat little package. I keep talking about like finance and accounting and marketing and these things, and they're really great opportunities for students. But we have a lot of students who have taken their own paths from their business programs. We have a lot of entrepreneurs who have created their own business. And the great thing about that is that, they come back to us and they say, like, these are the skills I got at Salve, and this is why I'm able to have a successful business. Now, how can I help your students? So we have a lot of great connections that way too. A lot of students are interested. Say that again.
I think about event planning, and I have a side gig as a wedding singer in a wedding band, which is a conversation for another day. But it seems like every time I stumble on a wedding planner, they went to Salve, and have even though there's not a degree in event management yet, the program provides that strong foundation for folks that might be interested in that as a pathway, and they are able to be entrepreneurial and able to open up their own shops and have very, very successful existences.
And that happens a lot with a lot of classes that, we have a class on project management. We have a lot of students who are, former students who are project managers now. The same thing with events. Obviously that I have a heart for that. I am working on building programming and that as well. But we do have a lot of alumni who that I've been able to connect with recently who are very successful event planners. I was talking on the phone yesterday with one of our alum who is the director of special events at the Four Seasons in Boston. And so I'll just anecdotally give you, so I teach the events class, and typically we would plan a live event and execute it by the end of the semester. Things are a little different now. So I've been thinking, kind of more creatively. And I have small groups of students who are each planning either a real or a faux event for a real client this semester. So each of them are working with somebody in the event planning industry who needs an event planned for them, real or faux. And they plan every detail from beginning to end. And at the end of the semester, they present to their classmates and to me and to their client the overall event package and the details from the budget to the floor plans to the timeline to the menus, all those things. They present that to the client, and their grade is based entirely on whether or not their client is happy with the event that was planned for them. So right now, the reason why I say that is one of the clients is the director of special events for the Four Seasons, because she's an alumni and she really wanted to be involved with our students in that way. And so there were a number of students who said, I really want to plan a wedding. I want to plan a wedding. And she's a weddings gal, so she's letting them do that. But we also have a number of students in there who are really interested in planning a concert. So their client is the director for events at TD Garden. And she obviously has a lot of experience planning concerts. In this case, she's having them plan a faux event. She is saying, I am the concert manager for, I can't remember the talent that she chose, but they're planning the concert for her. And then we have a group of students who are really interested in sporting events. So I have the director of events for the Oakland A's that is the client for that group. And so these clients become connections with the department, and they have a really good experience with a student who's planned this fictitious, event for season ticket holders for the Oakland A's. And suddenly, when they have an internship or a job opportunity, come up, they call for the Center for Business Outreach and say, hey, you got a good student who's interested in athletics. And we always do. And so these types of things are, they're cyclical, because we have a lot of very successful alum. And because of that, they reach back to the institution and say, give me some more students. And then they hire them, and we keep, building our portfolio of students who have successful jobs in all these different industries that may not fit neatly into the healthcare administration or the finance package. So.
Well, I think that's a great note to leave it on. There's no doubt that what the program is doing is successful and preparing students for successful careers, successful path to graduate programs, and ultimately the opportunities to be flexible in an ever-changing economic reality that we are seeing up close and personal in today's world, and the necessity to be able to have that foundational skill set to be flexible in today's world has never been more important. And I'm so happy that our program provides those experiences for our students. So Dr. Varao, thank you so much for taking time out of what I know is a busy schedule for you to talk with us and talk to prospective students. For students either on this chat tonight or who are watching a video of it later, just a reminder that the November 1st early action and early decision deadlines are coming up. Those are the deadlines to get your common application form submitted. You don't have to have all of your supporting documents together yet. Those can come later. But the sooner you get your application in, the sooner we can begin your review process, and the sooner we can get you a decision. And we'd like to be able to get you an admission decision by the holidays. And certainly we also encourage you, if you can, to visit campus sometime soon. We are offering in-person visits on a very limited basis, but they are available. Go to salve.edu/visit for more information on how you can learn more about the campus, how you can come visit us, also virtual visit opportunities and other workshops that we'll be hosting throughout the fall as you decide whether or not to apply to Salve, and I certainly hope that you will do. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Good night.
For having me.